are live. I'm live. I hope. Hi guys. Good you could be here. I'm looking forward to it, and a happy Equinox. It was yesterday, but it's the astrological event that keeps on giving. So, woohoo for us on the northern hemisphere, which is of course most of us who get to enjoy the sun a little more this coming year and a half. And I hope you're all having a lovely Sunday out there and are also beginning to feel the spring be upon you. So, without much further ado, I'll just switch so I have the proper feed here, and let me know if there is anything in it. And of course, for those of you who are new, thanks for being here, and you are welcome to ask personal questions. This is kind of my way of I'm offering a service which I feel good about having this type of work where it just benefits people for free, and it's also a lot of fun for me to experience what they answer. And okay, yes, and of course, thank you for being here, sharing, liking, subbing, commenting, donating, everything. It's all appreciated. And finally, Kevin, buddy, I believe there was a question from you, and I don't see it now. I remember it was something about the ionization of the human bloodstream. I'll try to get him to answer it. But without further ado, guys, I'll bring in. Umblam, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say. And Darren say yes. Hello, hope all is well. It's well. I'm having a good time down here. I hope you guys are enjoying and getting through further lockdowns as best you can. Hello, my friends. Hello. Has it been a while? I wouldn't be able to tell, but I always miss you. I would just like to communicate that to you, because connecting with you guys is a joy, a pleasure, and a treasure for me and the entire Arcturian Council. I am Umblam, as you know me, and I have come to join you on this auspicious day of your equinox. See, the equinoxes are, I believe my friend here also said, the gift that keeps on giving. It's something that changes your immediate energy field for the duration of at least 3 months, but it of course shapes the entire half year that is to come for you. And a lot of things are going on in the astral realms at this point. We are, of course, eternal beings, so are you, though we are better connected to the realization and the memory and the knowledge that we are eternal beings. And therefore, we are also less impatient about things to come. That is to say, we study human impatience as an interesting way and an interesting instrument to use to progress further for you. So all this impatience that you're feeling, all this pent-up frustration that has come upon you, and that will only grow as you spend a summer more feeling restricted by rules and crises beyond your immediate control, then it is interesting to study this impatience as a type of impetus, because it means that you have to expand into the directions that you don't usually go. So notice that very smart learning mechanism, that when there is an apparent cul-de-sac in the maze and you have to turn around or look for a hidden way out of it, then you immediately become more acute in your facilities. You immediately become more attentive to your environment. You immediately become more attentive to your own reactions, and you sharpen your faculties. And it is quite necessary for human beings to sharpen their faculties, because you are entering into a new creatorship as a species. You are designing a future that is sustainable. And once you have designed this future, you will be free to explore the galaxy along with us and a bunch of other wonderful creatures that have your best interests at heart. And so that's simply to say, as the sun comes, you may feel this energy, this restlessness, this life being delivered to you from the heavens down, and you almost boiling in it, not knowing what to do with that surplus heat. And that heat is for you to stew in. It's for you to make a dish of yourself in. It's for you to become ready for something that you yourself would like to eat. So consider, do you find yourself edible? It's simply a perspective that we think is interesting to play around with you physical beings, that usually you reserve your appetites for the outside world, but why not develop an appetite for your immediate experience, for the pleasure of having a skin and some sensory organs and the ability to taste and touch and walk upon the earth and breathe down here. Those are things that you can eat in your everyday experience. And the more you eat them up, the more you realize that energy is boundless, and your ability to integrate energy is boundless in your system. So with that, I would like to progress, and I will scan this question and provide an answer for listener Kevin, who has posted something that we believe that oops may have ate, as it is an expression in another language that's coming up in this vessel. And so we would just comment on the ionization process of your blood. Well, your model of ionizations are very helpful. That is to say, they work on that basic elementary table, and the periodic table, of course, we would use different symbols, but within this density framework, it's basically the same throughout the galaxies and throughout the universe. And this also means that, well, the ionization will progress as it does, but you might experience new development of processes, and you might experience that we are sensing that iodine will play a greater role in your metabolism. And this also has to do with, well, your idea of neurons. So the idea that we believe it is calcium ions that are used to transmit these messages, but know that these are, in a sense, vibratory free agents, which allow for the quantum field of intelligence or ether to be beamed in and scanned into your system. And it's, you could say, there is a double ionization taking place where a substance such as iodine, for instance, and also some basic salts will begin to play a role that simulate this sort of vibratory frequency or randomness receiver that the calcium ions play in your neural matter. So those are some of the information that I can give on it. And I'm so happy to be here. And if I haven't given my word on it to you, I hope you have felt my love for you in what I have said so far. My love to you, sweet human beings. I am so happy to progress into the sun with you, and I look forward to answering your questions. Yes, I like Umblam a lot, if you hadn't noticed. Laura asks, hi Umblam, this question is for Felicia Burkhardt. What can you tell me about me and my daughter's past lives so I can better understand this life with her and our journey? And what do you see for our future in this life? I feel like I'm walking a journey of peaks and valleys very quickly. Am I missing what I need to learn in the valleys? I love being on top of the peaks and being able to best serve the universe. It is a gift I truly treasure. Thank you. What a clear and elaborate question from a very pure-hearted place. Thank you. Yes. And dear Felicia, though we know that your questions are often delivered through Laura, we also get more acquainted with your energy field as we answer them. And know, well, the question you pose about the peaks and valleys, and we sense this is an easier one to progress from than the first one. Well, what we sense is that you are always where you need to be. And of course, you could say, well, do you want to remain longer in the valley? Then you absolutely have to. Well, not if you value positive experience. And of course, you can't have positive experience with negative experience, but you can have different distributions of them. So know that if you're doing this rapid oscillation and finding yourself moving through the peaks quite rapidly, well, this is both a sign of your energetic sensitivity and your resonance with the general collective energies that are moved by the patterns of your place, also in alignment to the influx of photonic energy that is so heightened right now. You are entering a new age, and therefore you need to experience a lot of these things because you're being brought into a new role in your lifetime in accordance with these energies. And this is also why you need to have a lot of these shifts, and a lot of you are experiencing it now, really feeling that the valleys are quite deep, but you're also quite surprised because many of you have had both lifetimes of, well, feelings of extreme suppression, but also in this lifetime felt prolonged extensions of dystonic moods, what you sometimes refer to as depression, or which you could call radical mood contrast. So these are some of the ways that you perceive that you might fear that the valley experience is necessary, and therefore that you're not necessarily spending enough time in it. But we can assure you that it's also because you have become quite gifted at going into these spaces, as actually feeling them. And then there is the question, because your higher self, once it reaches that level of honesty, or that level of synchronicity, you could say synchronization with the lower self or your physical self, the thing you usually call you or I, that is, then it doesn't really need to be there because it just wants you to feel them. So it's like, I just want to acknowledge that all these things are also part of being human, and that it's part of us, and that we can't really help either ourselves or others if we're not willing to also recognize those things and sit with them and just acknowledge them. And then they pass, and then there's also allowance for the light. And that's also why I often bring you this message, dear humans, to try to use that temporal mental faculty you have developed so highly, which you call memory, to actually begin to scan if you can see that you have progressed quite a lot in your vibration. But of course, well, it's that point that the things that you already know, they become second nature to you, and then you don't notice them because they just become a part of your environment or your character. And that's why it might seem then that the valleys are not, or the peaks are not necessarily getting higher or higher, but they are most definitely getting higher and higher. You find yourself tangling with new stuff and new experiences and new challenges that would have been in many ways unheard of 30 years ago. And the acceleration of human progress and information is also increasing. So that was part of a quite extensive answer that we feel might be very useful to a lot of people. And then we can say that you and your daughter have it's it's quite interesting because this is it's a template that's often returned to by what you may think of as old souls, or people who are quite connected to their incarnational trajectories. That is that there is this, you could say, teacher acolyte relationship that then manifests again through lifetimes. So that means that, well, there have been lifetimes where, well, where you have been, um, for instance, in tutelage. We believe the term is with your daughter. We see a time as a, well, working as a carpenter in, and we're getting the Ukraine in the 1400s. So make of that what you will. But that was a period where she, for instance, tended to your tutelage and coming of age. And so you often switch this relationship because there's something also very synchronous about the way that your unfolding projects matches up, and we sense there's quite a lot of harmony that might, of course, sometimes become hidden in the natural distortions of the human experience, but that we sense are very helpful, and where you two belong together. So thank you for that question, and our deepest love to you on your quest. And Jana asks, do you have any suggestions on how do I become more intensely aware of myself, worse, no matter what the circumstances? Thanks so much for contact. Well, thank you for asking, Jana. If you have, I just want to understand it correct. Do you have any suggestions on how do I become more intensely aware of my self-worth, no matter what the circumstances? I'm kind of reading it a little as your own dark sides or shadow or something, but let's see what he says. A very interesting question. Yes, you do so by relentlessly asking why. And this is a this is a very tiring process, as those of you who have been around um, growing toddlers may have experienced. That relentless question of why is a thing that you need to temper within your own experience, because there are also a lot of situations where it doesn't necessarily serve you to dig into your own dark sides. If you're, for instance, let us say, in a shopping out on a busy day, and you become aware of all the ways that you may also be negatively perceived in the space around you, that might not be helpful. But that's only to say that you can always, if you want to know your own dark side, you can always ask yourself, well, what is the opposite truth of what I'm telling myself here that's also true? Because that's of course the paradox. And 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 you can also try to allow yourself to have some, you could say, darker identifications in the Akashic. And we will use our dear friend here, because he has had experiences in his own awakening process where he has both had the remembrance from the Akashic of being tortured or burnt or persecuted, but he has also begun to have the experience of being the persecutors, or the ones who torture, or the ones who, and of course, there is a place in the time space where you function as a Mesoamerican priest who's flaying someone alive and ripping their skin off, and then wrapping it around your body and doing a ceremonial dance in order to appease the rain god, or or something to that effect. And that's of course a completely grotesque reality to envision for a lot of humans. But realize that the realization that you are all one also means that, well, whatever one human does is something that you are potentially, in your capacity of being human, also capable of doing. And so when empathy, you could say, you could use your empathy for darkness So know that all the darkness that you experience the outside world is something that you also hold within you in your soul trajectory. So that is the idea of, you could say, the energetic body, or the higher self, or the soul, the thing that's personally you, that's being carried through lives and experiences. That a way that you can get to know that, but you can also, of course, simply go down and use your memory, and then look at all the things that you perhaps weren't pleased with, or weren't happy with in your life. And then a good antidote for this is the way you use this constructively, because don't beat yourself up, but that is that you can actually tire yourself by doing this. So if you tell yourself, remind yourself of all the ways that you don't think you're necessarily a very good human being for 10-15 minutes, you will automatically tire of it, and you will arrive at a place where you also realize that, well, I wouldn't really be able to tell myself these things. I wouldn't be concerned with whether I was a good human being or not if I wasn't at least a halfway decent human being, because the very ambition that you want to know yourself speaks of a high degree of conscientiousness, which is what you could generally identify with being a good human being, that is striving for actually being a human being that lives its best life, and tries to treat its other fellow human beings as equals in this experience. So we bless you very much on that quest, and we think it was a very interesting question to experience also for us, how humans tangle with contrast, because contrast is so important, and contrast is the sweet taste of life that makes all the wonderful nuances and colors visible. Our blessings and our love to you. Hey, and hello, dear one, and hello. It's lovely being here. Thank you for all the love, guys. Oh, and Paul Fastar asks, "What can you tell about my star family?" And always, the more elaborate questions you ask, the more elaborate answers you often get. But of course, often surprising info comes up. So let's hear what he has to say. Yes, 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 dear one. Yes. Well, we can tell you that your star family is the energies that are pushing up to the energy field of this dear one, whose scanning mechanism is being used to create this experience. It's a blubbery one. So if you think of your jellyfish, but like highly angelic jellyfish is the image, and you can almost feel the bubbly love of them. So it has to do with you living a life aquatic. You're very much aligned with ocean energies, and of course, you know that some of these constants of, that's also why there's a great intuition in you, having, well, discern the elements in as the basic elements, as of course earth, water, air, and fire, because it speaks to the idea that there are things that are solid, things that are fluid, things that are gaseous, and things that are plasmatic, or purely exist in a pure energy state. And that's the same throughout the universe. And it differs in different galaxies, but it is basically the same throughout the universe, this universe. And then what you can perceive here is that, well, you're very much aligned with these aquatic energies. So it's also a little weird for you in this lifetime to have to be so dense and wobbly, we could say, because swimming would bring you a lot of joy. And we also sense that the Syrian energy is quite strong. They also have this sort of lightness to them, also bounciness to them almost. So it's very much these wonderful bubbly energies, and a lot of blue astral light that's coming through, a lot of angelic light that wants to find itself recognized in this lifetime. and it would be helpful to do so. So we sense, for instance, that were you to seek out, and we can't scan exactly where you live, we sense you may have to travel a bit, but to seek out a place that has one of these bioluminescence phenomenons of, we believe it's also aquatic life that lights up with beautiful self-glowing neon colors in bluish colors in the dark, and it, for instance, takes place on some of the Caribbean islands. So this is something that you could seek out, and there you would have a sort of more revelation or communion with that energy that's also trying to reach you now. So yes, that's that. And we bless you very much, and we bring forward the tidings of, well, we want to tell you that this energy is trying to reach you, and that blessing and that love from that place is being transmitted to you. Yes, no need for elaborate questions. They always have something interesting to say. Um, yes, and then Laura asks here, hello, Umla, my love and gratitude to you. I've been working with the Crystal Palace, and I feel like I'm missing something. I'm so blessed by all of you in my circles of love and light. And I know um, so much happens regardless of how conscious I am of it. I did get, I think, that part of those who are present in the courtyard are my lifetimes, the many aspects of my oversoul becoming concurrently available. Would you speak to that and also see if Iflin Clock has any instructions for expanding my awareness so I can be more like directly consciousness of what is being gifted in this palace? Yes, it's a fascinating question, and you can go back with the saga of Laura and Umblam on previous Arcturian live streams if you want to get the full context here. But I'm excited to hear what he has to say about it. Yes, dear one, my love and blessings to you too. Do not be afraid that you are missing anything. It's often the sense that we believe you even have a term called fear of missing out, and we register that so many of you who are gathered here and are connecting to this material, that is not necessarily a thing that you suffer much from, but you may have it in the spiritual realms. That's often a place where it's repeated for you. That is to say, you're not always sure that you're having quite the right experiences at quite the right time, and you feel there might be something missing here. And you could say the part that's missing is that your wings are growing, and there is a type of constriction related to that experience, and that's simply something that actually has to be processed in time. So what you could imagine is, well, begin to envision the centerpiece of that palace. So what is it? And usually, within a temple there is the sacred of the sacred, and within within under the duration of a classical party some um, there will be some, what's it called, the piece de resistance, or there will be that magnificent thing that revealed as a dish or something awe-inspiring that the people who came to the ball will be surprised by. And so try to open up to the unexpected, because the palace is in a sense an invitation for you to know yourself, and it is not something that we have given to you, it's something that you have created that we then mirror back to you, because we see that this crystal palace, it lives there, and in the courtyard these things are gathering, so you can begin to grab and hold hands. And here Buddy Efflinclock is coming forward, and he's transmitting the idea of, it has to do, and we know this sounds a little strange, but diamonds in your hip creases. So there is this tense area around the sacral region, and the more that you allow yourself to, you can actually use your thumbs to pressure down at the top of your hips, where they connect to the thigh bone in front. And these are sort of places where a lot of that, well, energy of allowing yourself the trust and the integration of this experience, allowing yourself to connect to earth, is a little stagnated for you. And that's why he's offering me, and this is actually a type of Syrian vibration, but I will give it to you now, and you can return to this message should you want to. It's and this has a kind of subliminal code. I'm trying to stop this vessel from laughing. He thought it was really funny, but that's sometimes how the Syrians communicate. This has this type of subliminal code that sort of penetrates some of those energy layers that are dense and opens them up. And you can begin to work with some of the same codes, begin to work it, some of that almost fragmentary energy, something that breaks something apart, would be not a bad way to go about it. Our blessings and our love to you, my friend. And remember to explore the hidden rooms of your palace, because there are infinite chambers where you will find infinite surprises and presence within. And Devante asks, is the type of form of banishing ritual I am performing working? And is this particular system of magic that I am delving into with genius entities positive? Yes, you see, so much of what we are transmitting today is centered around the theme of trust. So just to answer your questions, that's a yes and a yes. And then we are very happy to elaborate, because what we sense is that it's again this notice that a lot of you have been through a lot of trauma, a lot of challenging experiences, a lot of feelings of being pent up. And that's also why, well, so many of the people that this message are reaching, you're the true COVID veterans, if I may use the expression in that way. That is to say, of course, that you have already had those experience of isolations, which have made this a more fruitful time for you than for a lot of people who were delving with the experience of isolation firsthand. So you have had to sort of deal with the trauma of stepping into your power. But what is maybe missing for many of you, and we are again using this dear one as an example, is that it is that feeling of actually being able to receive the confidence that's being beamed into your higher self, by your higher self to you, because you wouldn't have been led to this path and so far down into the rabbit hole where you reached your own deeper self, your own innermost core, that if you weren't connected to the truth of your being. And that's really the case with this invocation practice. So you have been led to it, and this idea of the genius is very powerful, because it also speaks to your deepest perspectives as a creator. You are able to create all these things, and whether or not the angels were created by humans or the humans were molded by angels, well, that is a great mystery for you to uncover as you ascend up the dimensional ladder, but know that you are very much being guided, and trust yourself in this wonderful work that you're doing, that you truly have our love and support and blessings in. Thank you. Yes, and Gishfip Mikjuf, which I assume is not a name in any known language. If it is, I apologize. But asks, I feel this strong connection to the ocean and get a lot of sea creature dreams, and sometimes feel spirits and this cold, almost wet energies in hands. What do you think it means? Please and thank you. Yes, it means, and greetings, friend. We are glad for you to, we are glad that we are able to connect with you this day and put this forward to you, because it means that you are highly emotionally attuned. You're very attuned to the moods of this planet, and you're very attuned to the fluctuations within your own system of energy, and within, and the movements within yourself. And so this oceanic feeling, your ability to return there, is essentially the ability to return to the womb, to the place that you came from. So it means again, and it's wonderful with these synchronicities, that the pattern of the oceans are playing out. So we sense, for instance, there is a part of your oversoul who is living out an experience as a yes, as a sea adjacent to a planet in the constellation Virgo. It's one of the middle stars, and there's a planet there with a sea on it. And you simply have an existence as this type of sea there, and you're also very much connected to. We're getting the energy of the Great Lakes here, but it's great closed bodies of water. So were you to seek out some of the lakes on your planet, and this could be the Great Lakes in North America, but it could also be the Caspian Sea, or it's Lake Victoria, we believe, or any other such main enclosed bodies of water, you would begin to also feel this deep energy, this lake-like energy you have of being still and calm as the sea. It also means you have some quite beautiful connections here to some aquatic beings. Well, these beings, we can't place it within the geographic knowledge of this dear one individual we're coming through, but we can say that they call their star, or they used to call their star, something like Milklik. It's an M, an I, an L, a K, an L, a C, an I, and a K. Milklik. and and these are, well, in human terms, you might consider them kind of invertebrates, high order invertebrates that build civilizations underwater. And they are like tentacle beings also. And they are having some, you could say, much as you're connecting to their energy, they're connecting, there's someone alive in their civilization who's awaking, having strange dreams of being a bald monkey on a planet with 70% of water, but who lives on the dry land, and everything sometimes gets a little weird. So that's what we would like to communicate with you, deliver that message. And thank you so much for being with us and allowing us to connect these energetic bonds across the cosmos. Our blessings and our love to you. Yes, 1111, always good. And Adelina asks here, hello, Adelina. Dimitrova. Hi, Umblam and Mads. My love to you. Our love to you. I would like some clarity with legal documentation of my daughter. I am expecting resolution since December and still nothing. Can you give me some advice? 10.x. Yes. You see, it's been a while since my civilization used lawyers. We would say it's been approximately 2.8 billion years in your time, and we've been non-physical for the better part of that time. So it's not something that we particularly relate to, but we do understand that human beings can be quite legalistic. It's an interesting quality that you have very much from the Pleiadians, who also like enjoy this level of discernment, wanting to put things into boxes instead of connecting their emotional waves, which is a little bit more like us. But we're not a full love to everyone. What we want to say about this is that don't worry about it, and we know it's difficult, but we also know that you are caught in a time space situation where there is both in your collective surroundings a lot of legalistic there's what's we will use some foreign words here, Hulumhai, or we believe that maybe there's a Hebrew term called Togofebogo, which means the state that was before the world was created. So a lot of potential chaos, and we're of course speaking to some of those situations, such as the COVID and the Brexit situation. So don't worry necessarily that this is a huge problem in what you are facing. But what we would advise you to, and we are again using the example of this dear one, it is that as manifestation ramps up and you're finding that your connection to your outer reality becomes more and more pronounced, you will also discover that often, well, the blocks, the problems in the outside world will remain until the blocks are cleared. And this is something that an entity such as Abraham Hicks has been really pronounced on communicating to you. That idea that if you relinquish your expectations, it comes to you because it's all already in vibrational escrow. We believe in it. We're laughing because we sense that it's a very American term to the source we're coming through. But that means that what good is coming there is already coming to you, and it's something that you will experience resolve itself as soon as you learn the lesson of relinquishing that thing which you can't control. And we will use the example of this dear one because he's had the problem this week that the water heater broke, that and then it it turned out that it wasn't getting fixed, and then he waited around for people to fix it and they didn't come, and it was difficult for him. And of course, the moment where he said, okay, I actually don't care whether or not I have hot water or not, I just don't want to deal with this anymore, that was the exact moment where a guy then turned up and then just put in the right unit, and then of course it was working again. And it was both funny and frustrating to him that was the experience he had to have, that okay, before you learn to just let things go and not obsess about things that don't really mean anything in the big picture, then you will keep manifesting this trouble, because the lesson you want to learn is that, oh, I get so frustrated and I can't deal with this frustration. And what you're actually wanting to teach yourself is to say that it's all right. This things will be all right. They will definitely be all right, and trust that they will be all right in this situation also. And our love and our blessings to you. And much respect for your expression. Thank you too. Oh, and yes, and there's the question here also. What is the most important message for me from my higher self called Cilientra Corora? Love you. Oh, and I love to you too. Yes. Well, the message is to tune in and tap, how is the expression? Turn on, tune in, to drop out. It's, of course, it's the idea that you should connect to your higher self, yourself, because you're already uh, you're already the connection point between physical reality and this Ciliantra Corora. And it's a very melodic name. It's and we're sorry that we can't get the physical apparatus to pronounce the r's in the way that we that we understand they're intended. But that's she's simply saying that, well, speak my name and I will come forward. And the more that you begin to align, the more with my energy, the more I will begin to align with yours. And then, of course, in a sense that your higher self doesn't have a name. So it's a game that you play in fourth dimensional reality to name things in order to discern them and connect with them. And it's very powerful. That's also why the genius invocations that we spoke on before, that they work. It's because you are in a sense able to create these egregores or entities, that these different lowers or powerful interceders that interact between you and pure source energy. And so the more you create this vision of your higher self and approach her with the name, the more she will manifest as a personality that can connect you to your higher self. So you could say it's in a way, and it's very helpful. So I'm not in any way criticizing the way human beings do this, but I'm just noting that it's very interesting from a higher dimensional perspective that names are so important to you, because in a sense she's a vision of your saintly self, and that saintly self is coming forward within you. So you wouldn't be aware of her if it wasn't something that was already integrating. And so the more you turn your attention to her, the more she will integrate. And that's the very, very loving message that we are transmitting from your oversoul to you, and from us to you, our love and our blessings. Thank you. And Yana asks, can you see what would be beneficial for me to balance my energy field for higher vibration compatibility? Oh, I will just check if there are any one-time questioners, and then because so everyone gets one question answered, and then I'll go back. AJ asks, "Do my guides have any messages for me that I should hear?" Yes, they're saying, don't worry, be happy. It's we know usually it's because the transmissions from your guides are very much of an energetic nature. And of course, what's happening within this practice is that one particular guide, that's me, Umblam of the Arcturian Council, who's connected to this individual, is then speaking or being translated into spoken words. But it's of course what your guides want you to know is, don't have no fear, or everything will be all right, or don't worry, be happy, or you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to be, and like all those messages. And it's just the love in that is so extreme. So you could say that the more you heighten your vibration, and we believe this is then relating to the question that Jana was also asking here before. But the idea that if you heighten your vibration, you actually become a match to that loving energy which is already available for you. And it's because it's somehow easier to approach this physical reality, that you can actually just work on naturally building your well-being within your own immediate experience, and that automatically connects you to the knowledge that you want to have in any situation. And it's always a puzzle. Like, it's also a puzzle for us in the ninth dimension, that we're aware of a lot of things, but we think it's really, really funny looking at the cosmos and piecing things together, and being like, oh, so this is what it means to be ninth dimensional experience. Oh, and what if we connect our collective energies to these collective energies and begin transmitting these messages? And oh, well, what do you know? Okay, there are some other new unfound realities here that we discovered. So we have all gone exploring in this great adventure of being that we are all a part of, and we are equally parts of it, that you are, and your guides are. So remember to keep that sense of adventure, and to know that yes, don't worry, be happy. Those experiences, they're all counted as deeply meaningful and relevant in the perspective, from the perspective where your eternal soul is, and they're right there with it, and you're right there with it too. You just don't remember it, because then the game would be different. Our love and our blessings to you. Don't worry, be happy. They were also playing the melody with Bobby McFerrin, I believe it was in the back of my head. So you can also go listen to that if you want a musical pick me up afterwards. Greetings, Umblam and Mess. Greetings. I would love to know if the woman I'm in touch with is my soulmate. Thank you, Shyam. Yes, she is your soulmate. This doesn't necessarily mean that. This doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that it will be all what's it called, wheat bread and candy. It's the honeymoon. In the language that this individual is coming from is called the days of wheat bread, because it was the sweetest thing that people could eat back in the day. And you have had certain honeymoons, days of wheat bread, before in your lifetime. So you have partnered up before in other constellations. Well, so there have been human lifetimes where, yes, there have been human lifetimes where you have had consorts, and your sexes were mixed, but there have also been human lifetimes where there have also been human lifetimes where you have been in, we sense, like a cousin relationship, extended family, a part of the same clan. So there are some of those things, but also in different star systems, there have been some alignment where we sense that what is going on is well, it's against this theme of exploration, where you sort of try to find a way to balance yourself out in a corner of a different galaxy where you could exist as astral bodies for a while. We know some of these akashic patterns sometimes get a little weird for human beings to understand, that you could also be soulmates as star bodies. But what we sense that you're coming together on in this lifetime is also the actual exploration of the idea of connection. So the deepening of connection within a human framework. And that's something that, of course, you will both have free will in how that's supposed to play out. But you do have resonance patterns from former lives. And that is what we sense that the term soulmate can be interpreted as, where it's meaningful, because, of course, realize that no people are predestined to be together, to the degree that they can choose at any moment to not be together, and then to have these experiences in a different lifetime. So there's always free choice, but there are very often convergence patterns. So like attracts like, and it's wonderful that reality, well, your pals, they keep seeking out each other across lifetimes, because that's what friends are for, right? Our love and our blessings to you, and we bless this connection and hope that it may bring you both wisdom, happiness, and joy. Hey, there he is. Hey, Crystal. Good, you're here also. Perfect, you made it. Oh, yes, there was Kevin S. There was this. I didn't remember that thing on the cardiovascular actually. They talked about the ionization. So let's try to get him to elaborate on that. Yes, this is also interesting because notice as the composition of your atmosphere drops, so the levels of carbon dioxide and other gases increase slightly. Then what also happens is that you're getting by on slightly less oxygen, which is an altercation of your vibration. And as you may know, people who live in high altitudes have literally often been more connected or have greater access to spiritual experience, which is connected to this slightly lower degree of oxidization. And so, of course, we could point to a culture such as the Himalayan cultures living there at the roof of the world, who are known to have been in touch with spirit, but of course it's repeated in many mountain chains, also such as the Andes around in your world. And this means also that your cardiovascular system is becoming, it's requiring a little more attentive care. For many of you, it has been helpful to undergo also for the training of your nervous systems and the stabilization of your system to undergo some sort of exertion exercise, what you also call cardio, we believe in modern speak. And this means that, well, you begin to simply stabilize a little more of the energy, but also know that you are beginning to become more nourished by the pranic. And this means that there are actually fluctuations of energy which will begin to become more detectable. Well, for instance, that your pulse might become slightly lower, but your sense of the vibration of reality, so in a sense, the actual speed that you perceive things, you register things at, they might seem a little accelerated. And this is partially what we mean by vibration. So it's quite interesting that a leap into the fifth dimension also takes place by time becoming so accelerated that you can actually perceive it. So it's the idea that you have, for instance, in your time lapse cameras, where all of the sudden you can see plants grow because things are moving quicker. And this also means that, well, there's a change taking place in human physiognomy to accompany this, because your longevity is also being prolonged. And you have been able to explain this physically, but it will begin to, as you see people living into their 200s at some point, it will begin to be possible for you to, well, also see how this is influenced very much by that which you may call the pranic or the energetic or the spiritual. Our blessings. Thank you for this question. Our love to you. Gyumetsi, serious, for your love is our love. All the love, beautiful. Many thanks for the giggles and assistance. Blessings. Thanks for love, guys. Uh, what is the best use for time here on Earth? Asks friend of the show, RL. Perfect. That's a deep one. Yes, I'm laughing because it's of course the practical turn on what is the meaning of life. Then it's but it's beautifully put that, well, how do you spend your time? Well, from the Arcturian perspective, your time is best spent connecting with us, of course, Tara. No, what we mean is that, well, bringing your vibration into alignment with the place that we reside, because it's look at notice how that's an ingrained pattern within you, that you do enjoy connectivity. You do simply enjoy that feeling of things dissipating, changing, being turning into something else, surprising you as something miraculous, feeling the sense of overcoming, feeling the sense that of learning, of expansion, of then integration, of becoming and of being. So it's this wonderful dance of change and metamorphosis, but of course also the enjoyment of the shapes that come in between these stages. So what we believe that one philosopher has called process and reality, the idea that, well, the process is the universe becoming aware of itself through the realities, which are the changing shapes as they manifest and are experienced in lifetime. And it's so you can't essentially go wrong, but if you want to if you want to go fast, then what you do is that you allow yourself to process. You allow yourself to be the process. You allow yourself to be a melody whose tone is heightening, and you allow yourself to vibrate out this contrast or resonance pattern. So know that and we had the idea of the peaks and valleys before. So notice that when you are engaged in a valley, it's being vibrated out because you are ascending to a higher peak, and you couldn't really get to the vantage point of that peak unless you had learned and had been through the shadow of the valley in that respect. So, well, the point of life is to live it, but the best way to live life is to recognize that it is a guided process. And by guided, we mean that the idea of agency that you have in your life, it would be very helpful for you to expand it into the infinite. And that's sometimes what we see as quite unfortunate about human religion, for instance. It's the idea that then it becomes an agency that imposes itself on you instead of being something that you're agentic in. So it becomes that thing that I have to build a church so I has so someone has a place to work where they can tell me that I have to go and come back every Sunday so I can be ashamed of myself, instead of saying that, oh, I felt called in my excitement by the agency of my inner being to build a building that expressed the Most High and that would facilitate for me the communion with my fellow community around a celebration of the infinite beauty and grace and being of what we are. And so the shifting into that agency in your own perspective is really what we would recommend as the place where you would find the most joy in your human experience and go forward in it. And we bless you very much on this quest. And we do sense that it is also something that is quite naturally manifesting through you if you would let it live and create and be and breathe. Our great love and our blessings on this path. Do subconscious memories from, oh, sorry, AJ, it's I'll just check if someone has only one message here. Yes, Jennifer, as friends of the show, glad to see so many of you guys. Lovely that you're here. I would just like to add that from my own perspective. Dear Master and Umblam, can you help us understand the importance to reawakening the Arcturian history and the Essene lineages at this time? Yes. You see, when you began tinkering with nuclear power, there was a rift opened within to the next dimension. That is to say that the human timelines began to proliferate into the space. So they have not, and we know you can connect with other higher dimensional humans but from your vantage point, the timelines that are sort of open into expansion are the ones into the fifth dimension. And there you are reconnecting back to the high vibrational enclaves that you connected, that you have lived through and been a part of earlier in your lifetime. And so what often transpired in the former energies of humans were that these special secret orders were created where these mysteries could be tended to and protected. And we are great protectors of knowledge. We have learned quite a lot of ways and also taught them to many other entities on how you store knowledge in different places in the time space. And so a lot of these revelations we actually put there for you. That is to say, when that nuclear bomb went off, we put on the other side of that rift certain informational patterns, certain cues that would lead that shepherd boy to Nag and uncover those scrolls. A lot of that Gnostic information that had been lost, we awakened to bring you into contact with, well, those former experiences, that higher calling, and you particular, you are connecting to this path because you have a great connection to the Jewish lineage in general. We sense that very special that very special project within the human project, which has somehow expanded a lot of human ideas within its framework and within the frameworks within that framework. And and there is some, you could say, secrecy in your work. There is something about the mystery that you have in connection to reality that very much speaks to your nature as a Jewish mystic and your connection to the Essene lifetimes. And you would have, if you were to go to the deserts of southern Israel, you would begin to have a lot of these awakenings connecting to you. But you can have them simply by sitting down and allowing yourself to unwrap some of those moments that are coming to you, because try to envision actually these, how they are shaped, these gifts that we have stored for you, or that you, your higher self, with the assistance of us, the Arcturians, and who are also a part of your higher self, but it's how we have built these built-in codes for you to find and unwrap at the right times. So look for them because they are coming. Thank you. Blessings. Yes. Okay, and then Crystal says, "Hello, hello. I've been a long time truth seeker, just coming into aligning my body energy frequencies. Can you, etc. Can you give me any guidance on Kundalini in regards to my own growth at this time?" Yes, beautiful question. Yes, that means crystal, be dawned, be in the dawn with your crystals. That is, we would like to say, it's wonderful how these patterns fit together. We would like to say that what you can actually work with is the idea of light coming into your body through certain vibrational vectors, portals, concentration points, things that concentrated, and that would be for instance crystals. So it would be a great help for you to interact with crystals that you feel connect to specific chakras or energy centers, and then begin to adjust those tunes partially by connecting to. So the idea is it's a trifold connection you make in your mind, and where you connect to the energy center, and you connect to the crystal, and you connect to the sound that it's making. So let's just pretend that we're holding an amethyst here, and we say that would speak to the fifth chakra of the channel, because it intuitively does. And then we would say, then he should intuitively make the sound that's connected to it, which would be something. And notice when you play around with the sound, you are actually also pushing or massaging certain spaces that might be locked or resistant to the flow of energy. So these are all the minute, and for some reason we forget the word for it now, but energy lines in your body. So there are all these minute energy lines also extending from the larger chakras that exist, and these are some of the places that you can more subtly play around with. And then you will sense that this energy, it has that signature of a tingling of something that's sort of pleasantly ineffable, that's that vibrates a little. And this is again also what we mean by here comes the sun. It's very reminiscent to that charge that you feel by receiving a lot of sun rays. So that's something that you might connect to in your experience. And we sense that you are very much on the path with this, and we offer you our love and blessings in this project. Thank you. Yes, and yes, such great questions today. Yes, exactly. It's I'm always amazed at like all the good things that you guys show up with, and how well these patterns are all tied together like marvelous synchronicity. It's just much love out there. Hello, Umblam. My love to you, our love to you, Jana. My question is about hybridization. Many civilizations co-create hybrid children involving Earth human DNA. What benefits does this bring? Thank you. Yes, thank you for asking this question. It's very interesting, because you could say, of course, we could also construe you as a hybrid race and then say, oh well, we picked up these higher primates and then we began tinkering with their codes, and then we put in a dash of dragon, and we put in, some shining star being, and we took some of those strange elfin like creatures from the Pleiades, and that we also mixed a little, and you take a bit Fendorian and you put it in and you shake it all about. So it's that very weird thing that there is an infinity of experiments taking place in this cosmos. And that does not, of course, mean that where we are right now is incredibly important, but it's to say that it's that presence. And we're returning again to the image of here, it's coming up, that philosopher we spoke of before with process and reality, that we believe, well, his name is Alfred Whitehead, we believe, and it's but he also has the use of a term he calls concrescence, which is the idea that the universe is striving for higher and higher connectivity, and it does so by trying to pair together units that were before disparate into higher degrees of order. And so this is in a sense the thing that it's serving. It's that a lot of interesting things have been learned from the human experiment and are still being learned from the human and so a lot of creatures have just seen that it could be very interesting if these creatures would lend some of their genetic code to us, then what we could do all kinds of things with them and create alternative timelines and explore in this direction. And that's what happened to so that thing that you usually call the hybrid program, which was one that was begun by the gray aliens who were in a sense humans from the future, um, but had also mixed with some other energies, and this was the experiment that, well, I wonder if we can make human beings that have sort of been through a lot of these negative experiences of high technologization, and then match them up with some more peaceful or harmonious energies and see if they can serve in other sectors of the cosmos or on other vibrational ranges for, well, the purposes of expansion, exploration, discovery, all those wonderful things that, well, being incarnate is all about. So that's essentially that. It's again, then what's the purpose of living? It's to keep expanding, to keep connecting, to keep growing, to keep proliferating, to keep creating units of life and understanding, of connectivity and blessings, of love, you could say, in what once was seen as disparate or torn apart. And you are yourself getting much better on this timeline. And that's also why a lot of these hybrid visions are coming back to you and connecting, because it's the sense that you are becoming ripe for them, that you are becoming able to connect connect to them with the positive vibration that you yourselves are remaining in. Thank you. And Kitul asks an interesting question. What is the deeper meaning, spiritual message behind my skin reacting in the sunlight? Yes, here comes the sun again. Your skin is attuning itself to this vibration, and know that it's quite interesting that it also speaks to the human venture into the exploration of certain energies. So notice that a way human beings were constructed to be very versatile, but a way that you became very versatile was that when you began colonizing other parts of the globe than other than Central Africa and that continent. But when you moved out to the crevices of this continent and then further up into areas where you didn't have access to that much sunlight, that your skin also began to change or accommodate itself to these nuances or changes in the influx of light. And that also meant shutting down certain centers, shutting down certain harmonious energy configurations within yourself. And that, of course, enabled you to then, you could say, explore the energy that was then overflowing to other centers. So, for instance, if you cut off your pleasure center, it will be in that sense easier to redirect the energy into the mental capacities, and then have the project of the mental capacities run amok, and see it the destruction and the imbalance that that brings, because you haven't aligned it with the natural energy of the ground chakra. So that's a sort of perspective on what you could also think of, well, the project or the unfolding of human skin. It's actually that it's also sort of the framework that constructs the individual, and and shows quite clearly how well it is able to align with the pure flowing energy of the sun and take this in without a problem. And so what is happening is that you are sort of, we sense, provoking a slight reaction in your skin's reaction to the sunlight, because there is a type of, well, you're illustrating to yourself from the point from your higher self that you would like a higher degree of detoxification. So there might be things in your diet, we sense, that you would be happy to look at. There might be a type of vibrational adjustment where you feel you would like to become more vegetative. And we don't necessarily mean by eating plants, but we mean by, well, being something that sees itself as thriving more on sunlight and atmosphere than on moving around and taking in things and objects. And that's sort of some of the perspective we would offer on it. And thank you. Our love and blessings to you. And a person says, greetings and love to all. Greetings to a person and all persons. um, yes, a person says, I'm interested in hearing about any information that may aid in my spiritual awakening. I feel so open and so much love, but perhaps could use help in focus and direction. Yes, we sense the love. It's quite beautiful. Thank you for bringing it forward. It's very wonderful to see that this thing is flowering. And so for now, allow yourself to be a fountain. Allow yourself, because what you are doing now is that you have entered into this period where you are showing yourself from the perspective of your soul that you are all those wonderful things. You are this wonderful being. You are capable of this love. And so often you could say again, it's the period of expansion and contraction, or the period of discovery and integration. And so what you are in now is the basking in the joys, in the love, in the things that are overflowing, and that in and of itself is a great offering. So you are also bringing a great love to this situation and bringing it forward, and know that it's spreading not only to us and being mirrored by you into this energy field and out to the entirety of people interacting with this message and out into their energy fields. So you are benefiting with that vibration simply by being and allowing for that to be. And notice that in this, you will begin to hear the voices calling. That is your inner self calling, because know that that love is in a sense also composed of information, and it's the innermost information of who you actually are. It's the feeling of love, and that will teach you what you do. So if you're lacking in direction, we will point you to that. Well, are you following your excitement to the highest of your capacity with no expectation of your outcome? Because if you do that and you already are in a place of love, then notice that great things will follow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be, well, valleys again. So also enjoy the peak while you're there, because it's wonderful to see the view, and it's wonderful to see that, well, you can see clearly now and you are on top of infinity, so to speak. Our love and our blessings to you. Thank you. And then Chef Ray David says, I am King Ododo the Initiator. Are there any insights that can be provided about my role as a commander in the Galactic Federation, or connections to Mu, Lemuria, Atlantis? Gratitude to the Most High. Yes, again, we enjoy the role of names, because if you are, how can you be a thing that you don't know about? That's the interesting thing when when we are asked this strange gamer personalities that we perceive it as from our ninth dimensional perspective, because if you are both one, if you are clearly not that thing, if you are a person sitting here having this human interaction with us, so the word I am is not the right word you are looking for. What you could say is there a resonance pattern of another incarnational figure that is aligned within the greater vibration where I find myself focused as an eternal point of consciousness right now that is resonating within that. And there we sense, well, not really, that it's not something that's very powerful or very pronounced right now. And it's because you're actually being called more to the exploration of your past Earth experiences. So the Mu, the Lemuria, and the Atlantis, yes, there are certain quite prominent incarnations that are speaking out to you now, and especially the Lemurian lifetimes are something that's trying to connect to you, and here is the idea of, well, here is the idea of being who, yes, she calls herself Sinili, and that's again an S, an I, an N, an E, and an L, and an E, and it's this E vibration. It's somehow being very ingrained into your human perspective, because it's pointing to the fact that you're aligning higher and higher, and there's something about this protectress of the divine feminine that's reaching to you and connecting much to the lifetime that you are now. And so we sense that's a far greater connection of the I am in your experience that's going on right now than the I am of the galactic, because we sense that the entity that you mention is sort of off on its own tangent in that exploration of what's going on in the Federation, which we believe is also called the Council by this entity, because it has the word Federation has a very weird resonance pattern to him in his own idea of organization. So that is what we sense is reaching out to you. And so connect to your Lemurian energies and seek out the clear quartz crystal and the memories built within, and there will be lessons for you to reach. Our blessings and our love to you. Yes, um, I think because I'm also tiring out a little, guys, and there will be a new one next Sunday for the full moon. But I think everyone got one question answered. I'm pretty sure that that happened, and some beautiful questions. And I think I will probably finish off with this one from Gishvip Viknuf, is what is life as Arcturian like, and what do you like to do for fun? Because it's a very funny question. Yes, it's a very beautiful question. And know that we are coming through you from our disincarnate position in the ninth dimensional. And I come to you as I call myself Umblam, but I come to you as a personality counterpart that have once been incarnated on Arcturus and have now come as a representative, because it's the game of vibration. So because I am a previous incarnation that resonates quite closely with this individual, it's it's helpful and it's joyful, and he finds it very fun to interact with my specific energy. So it's approximately 2.7 billion years ago that I was incarnate in, and I had a lifetime of what you would consider approximately 12 to 1300 years, but of course time cycles were completely different around Arcturus. So it's a different way of constructing matter altogether. But we really like building things, and we really like building these type of energy condensers, you could call it. So I've delivered messages before where one of the things I enjoyed was, well, composing these type of melodic visual compositions, and we're wanting to relate it to, oh, it's a modernist, it's a modernist non-figurative abstract artist, and we're thinking Jasper Johns, but we're believing we might confuse it with another. But these very harmonious arrangements of color that almost turns into something sensory, because that's, we love to construct these chambers. So these different types of buildings where energy can be configured and expanded upon. And that's also why, well, we beam in so much technical information to you, and we astrally allow for so many of these contraptions to be available to you. So the more you connect with our energy and the Arcturians, the more you can also sense this idea of almost a geometric science that's available to you as energy builders within your physical experience. And that's some of the Arcturian DNA that's coming online, and that you're learning, a lot of you who are aligning with this material and are seeking to channel in, and that can be either vocal channeling or just give your highermost expressions to give them form. Well, you're very much connected to the Arcturian energy, because we are artistic in that sense, that it's a joy to build these types of holistic sensory experiences and then watch them build connectivity. And that's also why people you may think of as Arcturian starseeds who have a lot of energy often have this sort of languid melancholia around them, that's connected very much to that slow vibration that's helpful for conceiving of and building things of a great emotional subtlety, intensity, and nuance. And and those were things we love to do. But otherwise, we are to some extent a hominid species that had certain reward systems that we love playing around with, and in before my time, there was also experiences where we had language and conflicts that might relate to your warfare and other such experiences, and we developed culinary experiences, and all these systems, because those are also things we enjoyed eating while we still did that, and enjoyed singing and laughing and playing around with tones. So a lot of the stuff that you enjoy, which is playing around with the time space, we actually also enjoyed a lot while we were here, and noticed that the energies will only become more and more conducive for you doing this as you move forward into the sunlight and beyond this vernal equinox. And with that, I will bring you a prayer spoken in the Arcturian dialect that I mastered when it was still spoken, corresponding to the vibration we used, and then bring you the blessing. See many things you build and interact with, many objects you are surrounded by, great treasures of home and security, of comfort and of beauty. But the greatest work is the building of yourself, and that great edifice, it stands firmly in life, even when you are not sure of yourself, even when you seem wobbly on your feet, you are connected to the vast oceans of infinite experience, and you are having a joyful time of swimming in them. Be blessed. Thank you for all the inspiration that you have transmitted and all the love that you have shared with us, the Arcturians, and each other in this co creation today. Much love and wonder. Yes, you guys, thank you so much for being here. All your beautiful questions and another lovely transmission. And it's yes, it's I think that's it. Next Sunday, I haven't quite decided which entity it will be. I'm thinking maybe my buddy Inyak, because he has an exciting energy, but no promises. We will see who comes forward. But next Sunday, same time, same place, there will be another live stream, and I hope to see you all there, and thank you for making this one a beautiful one. So wherever you are on the planet, I wish you a very lovely I wish you a very lovely day and or night out there. Happy equinox.